The Shaiva masters speak of the Atma-nidhi, the great treasury of the self, this divine space of the absolute consciousness that is hidden from ordinary view. It is transcendental in its nature. They tell us, Vishvotirna, beyond everything. And yet at the same time, it is eternal. It has always been there. It is that which is already always present, underlying the dance, the drama, the display, the unfolding of our life as we usually experience it at the surface. This treasury of the self is the aliveness of consciousness, and it is an extraordinary gift for us. Ordinarily, it is transcendental, avyakta, the tradition tells us, beyond manifestation, unmanifest, existing in a paradoxical circumstance that is non-ordinary in its character. It is called concealed, guhya, mysterious, the deep cave of the self, the extraordinary esoteric reality, not usually available to the mind or to the senses or to our understanding or even to our surface vocabulary of life. It is rahasya. It is somehow nestled in the very heart of the depth of existence itself, permitting everything to unfold, to arise from it. And it is wild and uncontained and unlimited and unbounded in its character. This treasury of the very self is the throb of the heart. It is that which lends its fundamental aliveness to all of reality. And it is what sustains and nourishes and activates our very own life. These are teachings that we know quite well. In our practice of deep meditation, we allow our awareness to dive very far into the innermost spaces. The mind becomes calmer and there is less activity. And at the same time, it's as if something blossoms or reveals itself in the inner depths. At times, it seems indescribable, or it takes on the character of a certain kind of fascinating luminosity, or it pulses in a way that attracts our attention, or it has this feeling of profundity, meaningfulness, deep importance. And as we dive deeper and deeper, our ordinary perceptions temporarily come to rest. Perhaps we even lose track of our ordinary sensation through the senses and or our ordinary state of being identified with our body. Something else reveals itself. And as it were, we merge and we melt into this vastness, this universality, this treasured, exquisite, indescribable, non-ordinary outrageousness that is the very essence of all existence. There, our separate life wave melts and becomes unmanifest temporarily. And then, surging from that very pulsation of the divine aliveness that eternally dwells in the core of reality, it thunders forth into external expression. The avyakta, unmanifest, becomes vyakta, manifested. It is intensified. It is invited into further outer expression. Our journey of movement into the very silence at the core of existence has set in motion a corresponding response, and waves, currents, and flows of manifest Shakti, Vyakta Shakti, begin to flow inside us. An additional, incremental, increasing flow of life seems to naturally just infuse itself into every aspect of our being. It is so innately natural. It is so intimate to our very existence that perhaps at first we don't recognize, we're not aware of the fact that this increased flow of the deepest potency of life is moving naturally in this intensified and clarified way through us. The tradition says it flows into our capacity for action, the Kriya Shakti, our capacity to express, to create, to perform, to do, to move, to shape our world is infused with a higher degree of efficacy, a higher intelligence, a higher effectiveness that is naturally displaying the exquisite hyper-intelligence of the very self itself. And our Kriya Shakti then transforms. We become better at a practical level in the outward expression of our life. Those avenues of activity that serve to benevolently expand and grow and bless our life are increased. And those avenues of activity that have previously served to diminish or to blight or into some sense destroy even our external existence begin to disappear naturally. They begin to dissolve. Their capacity to invite us into such actions is minimized, sometimes completely eradicated. At the same time, the flow of this exquisiteness of the Absolute, this manifestation, this explosive outward expression that is been set in motion by our merging and submerging and submission into the very Absolute itself, the corresponding gift of the flow of the benevolence of life enters through our mind and through our senses, and it activates this jnana shakti. Meditation ignites the fire of knowledge, the desire to know in a deeper way. We begin to intuit inside ourselves that there is more to understand, more to know, more to just see and envision and be able to comprehend and grasp within our awareness. It becomes something tantalizing as we begin to see that the structure of reality is much more complex and nuanced, detailed, and infinitely fascinating in its variegated intricacy. And it draws us forward into every or any avenue of outward expression that we are interested in. The mind flows into increased flow of knowledge and the capacity for a more refined knowledge. And at the same time, this downward flow, as it were, this descending, unfolding gift of the Mahashakti enters into our intention, our will, and it clarifies what it is that predominantly sets our life on its trajectory. What is our deepest intention? What is our deepest focus? What are we devoted to? What are we deeply in love with, in a certain sense, in our life, that we return again and again to nourish and to expand and to really experience and to deepen a particular aspect of life? It is this flow of heightened, clarified, refined intention that blesses us in life and that catches us in its benevolence and begins to set us on a path of ascension, of rising, of comprehension, of effectiveness, of divine authenticity, and of outward expression of the deepest reality of our existence that has been previously hidden or concealed or only very partially available to us in whatever way. This practical transformation of life is natural. And it happens because in our meditation, we open to something so exquisitely hidden, deep, profound, unmanifest, transcendental in its character, yet which is fundamentally essential. The treasury of the very self, the treasure of the self, this exquisitely blessed place, mysterious, eternal, primordial, indescribable, universal, free, owned by no one and nothing, standing prior to everything that has ever existed, mysteriously complex and yet utterly transcendentally simple in its reality. This is so exquisite to understand how it is that at the practical level of life, this touching of the place of the self deep within begins to yield potent and natural and automatic transformations of improvement, of upliftment, of refinement, of purification, of the increased flow of freedom and capacity and knowledge and insight, comprehension, and also a fortifying and solidifying of our divine intention, something that ignites within us, that says in some mysterious voice deep inside us, there is something here that I must further investigate, that I must further explore, that I must further divinely plunge into. It is endless in its vastness, and it seems to have wave after wave after wave of transformative expression and capacity in a never-ending journey, a never-ending adventure, an extraordinary dance and drama of positivity, of realization, of divine attainment, of exquisite beauty in life, of the awakening of an extraordinary state and condition for our life, so that we can live an illuminated life, a blessed life, a life drenched with the values of the Absolute, with the soberness, seriousness, and clarity, with the divine ecstasy, bliss, and love of that innermost dimension of existence. And fundamentally, we come to realize we have sought this gift in so many different avenues of life, and we continue to explore the relative dimensions of life. This is a householder tradition. It is not a renunciatory teaching that says you must abandon everything else. No, but it does say that which your heart secretly desires. In its most sublime, potent wholeness of transcendental expression, abides eternally within you already, waiting to be unfolded to your gaze, to your experience, to your repeated inquiry, to your repeated investigation, and your repeated journeying into this vastness within.